So we're back for another deep dive. And you know what we love to do, right? We love to unpack some seriously cool stuff that you can actually use. And today is no different. We're going to be looking at some everyday English phrases that come from, well, a YouTube video. And I think this is going to be really helpful for you to kind of level up your English skills.
Absolutely.
It's from a channel called Learn English with Joinob.
Okay.
And the video is titled Learn English Podcast Conversation. It's for intermediate learners, English podcast to improve your listening, episode 40. So quite a mouthful, but it's packed with great stuff.
Yeah, and it's amazing how many phrases we use, kind of without even really thinking about them. And I think today's deep dive, we're going to uncover some of those nuances, and hopefully by the end, you'll be using these phrases with a bit more confidence.
Totally. Like our first word is logical, which seems pretty straightforward, right? But I think it's worth kind of pausing and saying, like, what actually makes something logical? What are we even talking about?
Right. So when something is logical, it just basically means it makes sense. It follows a reasonable line of thinking, like there's a clear connection between, different ideas or actions. But I think what's interesting is how we apply this word logical to our decisions, whether it's, big decisions in life or even small everyday choices.
And they had some interesting examples in the video. Like they said, if rain is forecast, bringing an umbrella is a logical choice.
Yeah, yeah.
But then they also said that it's not logical to swim during a thunderstorm,
Yeah.
which kind of highlights like the safety element of logic.
Absolutely right. It's not just what makes sense in theory, but it's also, how does this play out in the real world? What are the potential consequences of my actions? So maybe take a moment and think about, a time when you had to make a logical decision. What factors did you weigh? What was going through your mind?
Ooh, that's going to ponder. Okay, well, let's shift gears a little bit. We have this phrase no longer, which is really about things that were once true but aren't anymore.
Yeah, and the video uses a really relatable example talking about how, food preferences change over time. Like maybe you loved broccoli as a kid, but now, as an adult, you can't stand it.
Yeah, I was obsessed with those like little juice boxes.
Yeah.
Like the ones with the straws that you like punch in.
Hmm.
But now, ugh, I can't even imagine.
Yeah. And grammatically speaking, no longer generally comes before the main verb. So you'd say, I no longer enjoy broccoli, or in your case, I no longer drink juice boxes.
Right.
But I'm curious, have you experienced a shift like this? What's something you no longer do?
Ooh, that's a good one. All right, well, let's move from the broccoli and juice boxes to something a little bit more calming and soothing. We're going to talk about the word soothe, which is all about creating a sense of ease.
Yeah.
And it could be physical or emotional, which is interesting.
Yeah. And the video gives some really great examples too, like playing soft music to soothe a baby or taking a warm bath to soothe sore muscles.
Oh, yeah. Like I find listening to nature sounds to be very soothing, like rain or ocean waves. It's just like,
Yeah.
melts the stress away.
Yeah.
But I'm curious, those examples made me think, how does the meaning of soothe change when we talk about emotions instead of physical sensations?
That's a great point. So when we talk about soothing emotions, it's more about calming those anxieties, worries, maybe even anger. So it could involve things like, talking to a friend, meditation, even journaling. It's
Mm.
about finding ways to regulate, our inner state, not just physical.
So it's not just about those like external comforts like a warm bath or something. It's about finding things that bring you like a sense of inner peace.
Yeah, exactly.
Hmm. Okay, interesting. So what about you? What soothes you when you're feeling stressed or overwhelmed?
For me, I think it depends, right? Like sometimes it's a quiet walk in nature, sometimes it's listening to my favorite music, or even just taking those deep breaths. It really depends on the situation.
Yeah, it's interesting how those soothing techniques are so personal. Okay, well, let's move from the soothing to something a little bit more lighthearted. Window shopping. It's the art of browsing without buying. It's just about enjoying the experience.
Right, and the video mentions, going to the mall for window shopping, which is that classic example. But I think, window shopping can apply to so much more these days,
Oh,
right?
for sure.
Yeah.
I mean, we window shop online all the time. I know I do. Just scrolling through websites, adding things to my wish list, but no real intention of actually getting them.
Yeah, and it's not even just material things either. We can window shop for ideas or for inspiration or even for like lifestyles. Think about those travel blogs or Pinterest boards, right? Just dreaming of those exotic destinations or those home decor styles.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a form of mental exploration. It's like
Exactly.
playing with possibilities, but without making any commitments.
Mhm.
So where do you like to go window shopping? Is it like a specific store or a website or somewhere else entirely?
Oh, for me, it's bookstores, for sure. I just love browsing the shelves, discovering new authors, and just getting lost in that world of
Oh,
words.
I feel that.
Yeah.
Bookstores are definitely a happy place for me too. Okay, well, let's wrap up this first segment with a phrase that's all about taking charge. It's uh it's an idiom. The ball is in your court. I love this one because it comes from sports, obviously, but you can apply it to so many situations in life.
Absolutely. It's a really powerful way of acknowledging that there's been a shift in responsibility. Like they gave the example in the video of sending a proposal, right? So once that proposal is sent, the ball is in the other person's court to decide what they want to do next.
Right, right.
You've done your part, you know? Now it's up to them to take action.
Feel like handing over the baton in a relay race.
Exactly.
Yeah, yeah. But it's interesting, isn't it, to think about how the meaning can, or how that phrase can make people feel. Like sometimes it's empowering because you're giving someone the power to make a choice.
Mhm.
But other times it can feel like pressure, like, oh, now I have this burden of responsibility.
Absolutely.
It really depends on the context, right? And like your relationship with the other person. What are the stakes?
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
Have you ever felt the weight of the ball is in your court, either positively or negatively?
Oh, for sure. I think we all have at some point. It's interesting how a phrase can, make you feel different ways depending on the situation. But speaking of feelings, I think our next word kind of has that positive connotation built in. It's charming. There's just something so lovely and magnetic about that word, right?
Yeah, I mean, charming definitely paints a pretty picture in your mind. Like it's something or someone that just has that irresistible appeal.
Mm-hmm. And the video uses this great example of a charming village, with those quaint cottages and beautiful gardens.
Oh, yeah, I can see it.
You just want to visit, right? It gives you those warm, fuzzy feelings.
Mhm.
But they also talk about a charming personality, which I think is interesting because it's not just about like physical appearance. It's about how someone makes you feel, right?
Yeah, it's their charisma. It's like that spark they have that just draws people in. And we often use charming to describe people who are like polite and witty and make us feel comfortable
Exactly. Yeah, they just have that way of connecting with people.
effortlessly. So thinking about the word itself, it's an adjective, right? So we'd use it to describe things like, a charming smile or a charming restaurant or even a charming conversation.
You got it. It's that extra bit of positive description. But what I find interesting is that charming can be used in both formal and informal contexts. It's pretty versatile.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, well, let's shift gears to a word that's often used in a little bit more formal settings,
Mm-hmm.
accordingly. I feel like I see this one in emails and reports all the time.
Right. So accordingly basically means in a way that's suitable for the situation. And it often comes, as a result of something that was said or done previously. So it shows that cause and effect relationship.
Yeah, and the video had a couple of good examples of that. Like one was she studied hard for the exam, and accordingly, she passed with high marks. So her success was a direct result of her effort.
Exactly. And the other example they gave was the forecast said it would rain, so he took an umbrella accordingly. So he adapted his actions based on the information he received.
Yeah, it's like saying, because of this, I did that.
Mhm.
It just makes things clear and logical.
Yeah.
But you're right, it does have a more formal tone. Okay, well, let's twirl over to a word that's a bit more playful. We're going to talk about twirl. I just love the imagery that it evokes.
Right. Twirl is such a fun verb. It describes that spinning motion, and it's often, graceful or playful. Like you can picture a dancer twirling her partner across the dance floor.
Oh, yeah. Or the example from the video, a little girl twirling in her favorite dress.
Yeah.
Just so full of joy.
It's just carefree. Right. And while it's often used with dancing, twirls can be used in other contexts as well. Like think about twirling a pen between your fingers. Or, even twirling a strand of hair absent-mindedly.
Yeah, it's very versatile and definitely has that informal, playful tone.
Mm-hmm.
Speaking of informal, let's hit up our next phrase, hit up. This one is definitely slang, but it's so common these days.
It is. Hit up is a phrasal verb that's super popular, especially, I think, with younger generations. And it basically means to contact someone or to go to a place.
Yeah, they had some examples in the video like, I'll hit you up later to make plans. So you're saying like, I'll get in touch with you later.
Right.
Or they said they decided to hit up their favorite coffee shop after work. meaning they went to visit the coffee shop.
Exactly. It's informal, but it's effective. But you